Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we turn complicated corporate documents into something you can actually understand and maybe even enjoy. Today we're diving into Energy Fuel's latest 10K report, their annual checkup with the SEC. Now, this isn't just another dry filing, I promise. It's a story of ambition, risk, and a company trying to corner the market on all things clean energy, from uranium to rare earth elements, and even medical isotopes that could fight cancer. It's a bold plan, let's see if it can work out. First, gotta give you the heads up, a lot of what we'll discuss includes forward-looking statements. That means they're making predictions about the future, which, as we all know, is never guaranteed. These statements are loaded with risks and uncertainties, so don't take them as gospel. We'll highlight some of those risks as we go. So what exactly does Energy Fuels do? Well, they are trying to be the raw materials provider for clean energy and advanced technologies. They're all about uranium, the fuel for nuclear power, calling it one of the cleanest forms of energy. Of course they would. They're also getting big into rare earth elements, the stuff that makes electric vehicles and wind turbines go. And they're even exploring recovering radioisotopes that could be used in cancer treatments. They call this all helping address global climate change, but we'll dig into the reality a bit later. Reading through this report, the company acknowledges a whole host of global economic risks, including events like wars, health emergencies, and that last one is a pretty big deal when you're talking about materials key to national security. To make things a little easier to follow, Energy Fuels breaks down its business into three main sections: uranium, heavy mineral sands, HMS, and rare earth elements, RE. Let's take a look at each of them. First up, uranium. This segment is all about digging up and processing uranium, then selling it to power plants. They do this through both traditional mines and a method called in situ recovery, or ISR, which is like injecting chemicals into the ground to dissolve the uranium and then pumping it out. They also recycle uranium from other sources and are checking out the potential for producing medical isotopes for cancer treatment from their mines. The company is ramping up production, aiming for a rate of 1.1 to 1.4 million pounds per year. This stuff's being pulled out of mines in Arizona and Utah, with plans to stockpile and process this ore either later this year or down the road. They are also prepping to start the Whirlwind mine again, and working to get production up to over 2 million pounds of uranium per year. Speaking of metals, they're also sitting on a pile of vanadium pentoxide, which is over 900,000 pounds. They'll sell some of that when the price is right, but otherwise, they're holding on to it. They are also working on the Nichols Ranch ISR project, which is currently on standby. Next up, heavy mineral sands. This segment is a little more complicated and a lot more recent with their acquisition of Base Resources. This acquisition gets them into the HMS game, which is basically mining old beaches for minerals like ilmenite, rutile, and zircon. These minerals are used in everything from paint to ceramics. The focus here is on the Toliara project, which has major quantities of monazite, which is RE-bearing mineral. The other project they now have is the Quail project, but it's winding down and mostly in reclamation mode. They are partnering with another company, Astron, on the Donald project in Australia, and are still working on the Bahia project in Brazil, which is an HMS project with significant amounts of monazite. Finally, we have the rare earth element segment. This is where things get interesting. Energy Fuels is trying to create a fully integrated US-based RE supply chain. They are currently processing monazite sands at the White Mesa mill to produce a mixed RE carbonate. In 2024, they completed phase 1 of their plan, which allows them to separate out neodymium and praseodymium, two key REAs for making magnets. They even spun out 38 tons in the process. They are also working on phase 2 to expand their production and to produce separated dysprosium and terbium, which is used in wind turbines. To keep the mill humming, they want to get monazite from company-owned mines as well as buying it on the open market. This section is fascinating. Energy Fuels is trying to extract medical isotopes like radium-226 and radium-228 for targeted alpha therapy, or TAT, which is a very precise way to kill cancer cells while leaving healthy tissue alone. They even acquired a company called Radtran to boost this initiative. They are setting up a pilot facility, hoping to produce R and D quantities. If this works out, they could be producing these isotopes on a commercial scale in a few years. This past year has been full of big moves for Energy Fuels. They created that joint venture with Astron on the Donald project to acquire heavy mineral sands and RE deposits. They acquired RadTran for its radioisotope extraction expertise. It sounds like they are bulking up to increase uranium production. They even signed an agreement with the Navajo Nation, addressing concerns about uranium ore transportation. Looking ahead to 2025, Energy Fuels has a few key goals. They expect to mine a considerable amount of uranium this year and continue pursuing partnerships with other uranium miners. They are also set to expand the REE separation capabilities at the White Mesa Mill and also advance the Toliara HMS project to a FID by late 2025. The company provides a long list of risk factors facing it that are not limited to fluctuations in price levels, failure to obtain suitable HMS sales terms, public and/or political resistance to nuclear energy, or potential weaknesses to internal controls and others. Before moving on, let's take a look at their financials. The company is under the watchful eye of KPMG LLP. For the year ended December 31, 2024, the company made total revenues of $78.11 million, while incurring a net loss of $47.84 million and $0.28 per share. That is quite a big change from their prior year's financials when they had a reported gain of $99.76 million or $0.63 per share. KPMG also has the task of auditing the internal controls, which had to exclude recent acquisitions because it takes time to align all internal processes. Lastly, cybersecurity is a very important risk to consider, and the report does a good job of outlining what the company does. The CFO is the head of the IT governance process, and the firm has a number of steps and procedures to be followed in case of an event. It appears that the company plans to rely more heavily on its Perth, Australia office after acquiring Base Resources, which will have a greater presence in its operations. There were also a number of leadership and board member transitions related to Base. So what's the verdict on Energy Fuels? Well, they've definitely got a bold vision, trying to be a one-stop shop for clean energy materials. They are making long strides to expand into REEs and heavy mineral sands, on top of their core uranium business, which gives them a potentially serious competitive edge in the US. The company is trying to get more long-term sales contracts with utilities, which would give them some stability. They've also got some potential catalysts on the horizon. That new REE facility could be a game changer, and any movement on that Toliara project in Madagascar would be a big win. Of course, it's not all sunshine and roses. There's a lot of risk involved, as we saw. Global economic uncertainty could hurt demand for their products, and they also depend on governments being on board with nuclear energy and mining. They face competition from China in the REE market, and there's always a chance of unexpected problems hitting them in the mine. They also mentioned the risks of operating in foreign countries. Getting approvals and maintaining good relationships with governments are critical and have seen a history of not being easy. Then there are ever-present mining claims disputes and litigations that might affect their operations and internal controls. It also appears that these environmental regulations seem to make things trickier and more expensive. Overall, Energy Fuels is definitely a high-risk, high-reward company. They are trying to play a big role in a changing energy landscape, but they have some serious mountains to climb. The upcoming years will be crucial to seeing if their vision can become a reality. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, give us a like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of corporate filings.